think about the books or the songs or the paintings or the films that have stayed with you for years. They all have one thing in common. They don't feel manufactured. They feel lived. They feel deeply personal. And that's why they resonate. That's why they strike a chord. Because they connect us with some parts of ourselves that we don't fully understand, or maybe that we even hide from ourselves. They connect us with some fears that we don't talk about, or with some desires that we don't admit, or maybe with some contradictions that we don't understand. And that's why we keep coming back to these pieces of art, because they have some truth, some deep honesty, some deep truth that is interesting for us. But for example, if you are an artist and you want to write from this place of truth, you want to really resonate with your audience, where can you find it? Of course, it lies deep inside. The deeper you know yourself, the more material you have to work with, the deeper your art becomes. That's why creative work is inseparable from self-exploration. And I understand that this idea probably doesn't sound revolutionary, yeah, because a lot of people talk about this. They say, for example, use your pain as a fuel. Yes, write from your own experience. Turn your wounds into art. But what if your pain doesn't really become your fuel? What if it becomes paralysis? And you don't create, you don't write. Instead of that, you scroll, you procrastinate, you doubt yourself, So where is this magical switch that turns your pain into art? For me, as I'm an artist, this missing piece is GSR method, because these techniques really helped me. It helped me understand that it's not pain that creates, it's your ability to understand and transform it that is this magic ingredient behind great creative work. Why I think that my experience might be interesting for you, because, I'm an artist myself. First of all, I'm a writer. So I have written and published 2 books and a novella, and at the moment I'm working on my 3rd book. And also I'm a singer-songwriter with a significant experience on stage. I have been on stage since very early years, and I come from a creative family, I can say. My mother is a professional musician. So, and you see, that's why I know a lot about creative blocks. I know a lot about creative work. And when I found GSR, it took my creative work to another level. So maybe it will help you as well. And also, as I don't practice GSR only for myself, I'm a GSR practitioner, so I have worked with lots of creative people. I can share not only my experience, but experience of some of my clients. I know that a lot of artists never discover their full potential, so they can never fully realize it because they have a lot of barriers. Artist's way is not a simple one, actually. I know it for sure. So, and a lot of these barriers are perceived as external ones. Because, of course, you have to do a lot of things. You have to find an audience. You have to improve your skills, make some money, promote your work, find all necessary people for collaboration or maybe for management. And all these challenges, I know how hard they are, I know that they're absolutely real. But, over the years of my work and of my observations, I noticed one thing. I have met a lot of artists who actually knew what to do. They knew the ways to improve their craft. They knew how to post and promote their work. They knew where to find publishers, galleries, collaborators, and so on. But they couldn't find this inner fuel inside of them to actually do these things. Because external world matters, but what matters even more is our inner ability to move through it. So you see, and this barrier that everybody perceived as external actually was an inner barrier in external disguise. Because all these people, all these artists, they knew what to do, but the problem was in their inner state because they doubted themselves. they felt fear, they felt exhausted, so they felt absolutely discouraged. And very often I saw situations when two artists, for example, faced rejection. And one of them kept creating after this rejection, but the other one gave up. So you see, rejection was the same. The external situation was the same, but, it touched different things inside these two artists. And that's why one of them just kept creating and the other one gave up. So you see, that's why working with your inner world, with your inner power matters so much. And this is one side of what GSR method can help you with. So, for example, we can work with stage fright, with fear of criticism, fear of rejection, with creative blocks. For example, I had one client who had immense stage fright. And after only one session, this stage fright just went away, and she discovered this pleasure of performing in front of people. And for the first time in her life, she got a really positive feedback from the audience. And also, guys, I would like to share with you one story, which is one of my favorites. You see, so some time ago, I worked with an artist who truly believed that she was not really talented. She was not talented enough, and she perceived her art as a hobby, although she loved it very much and used to, draw everywhere and all the time. And when we did a GSR session, she suddenly recognized the value of her work. And after that, she started looking at it in a completely different way. So the first thing she did was that she found a really good tutor, a really good teacher. And not unimportant, this teacher was quite expensive. And that is why for her to afford these lessons was, a very significant thing to do. But still she did it because she recognized the value of all of this. And after some time, she decided to enter the most prestigious, like the best art college in the country. And she did. And so now this art became her profession, and she didn't even dare dream about it some time ago. And just one session changed, the course of her life, basically. And also, of course, I am the best example of this because before I started practicing GSR method, I had, for example, immense stage fright. As I'm a singer and songwriter, I did concerts, of course, but I felt so stressed. I could never feel any pleasure. After every concert, I went home absolutely exhausted, and I had to recover for several days because it felt like a huge stress. It felt like a huge shock. And of course, it was very bad for my career. And GSR sessions helped me with this. So I'm not afraid of stage anymore. And this is something amazing for me. Or, for example, I remember one of my first GSR sessions for myself. I even think that it was probably the first one, so I had a problem with the member of my band. I had a conflict with a very good guitar player who was very important for my career and who I loved very much, but we couldn't find some understanding. We used to fight all the time instead of creating. And I did a GSR session. I understood that there were some, feelings inside of me that created these situations. And after that, everything changed. I suddenly felt so peaceful and so confident that all these fights came to an end, and we started creating, and we recorded 3 songs together. We made a music video together. So you see, and now he is my very good friend and very important person in my music career, my collaborator, so very, very good guy. These are some benefits that working with your inner world can give you. But this is only one part of what GSR sessions can do, because also they can influence greatly your creative process itself. Not only, these external barriers, but also it can really fine-tune what is happening inside of you when you create. It can help you reach these deeper parts of yourself and find your creative voice. And again, I want, first of all, to give the example of my client, and then I will share some examples from my life. So, for example, I worked with a client, again, an artist, a very talented one, and she was very skilled and actually quite successful, but she always felt that, she couldn't find some creative solutions that would feel unmistakably hers. You see, so she understood that her solutions were very skillful, but it was as if she copied them from somewhere, and when we decided to discover what was happening inside of her at this moment with the help of a GSR session, we saw that she really thought a lot about how other people perceive her work, about how other people perceive her art, and she gave it too much attention, and that is why this blocked her from hearing what she had to say. And after one session, she suddenly felt these creative solutions that were unique, that were one of a kind, that felt truly hers, and they came naturally to her, absolutely naturally. And so she says that after these GSR sessions, she actually found her creative voice, and I know what it feels like, because the same thing happened to me. Because I use GSR a lot in my creative work. So, for example, when I'm writing books, and I feel a little bit stuck or I feel unsure of some of my creative decisions, so very often I do a GSR session, and after that I understand what creative solution is the best in, for example, in this story. But my biggest achievement with GSR is actually in music, because you see, I have been singing, I have been writing music since a very early age, but I couldn't find my own voice. I have tried different styles. So I have been a classical musician. So I have jazz education and significant experiences in jazz. Also, I really like spiritual music. For example, I was singing mantras for many years, and also I tried myself even in rock music and in art rock, for example. But you see, I always felt that something was missing, that, I'm doing all of these types of music, but I don't understand that I can 100% express myself in them, that this is something truly mine, and when I was doing GSR sessions, I understood that I had a lot of ideas about what my, what my way in music should look like, yeah? But when I did some sessions and I cleared my vision, I suddenly understood, and it was so surprising for me, that the style that I am actually deeply in love with is country music. So now I have found, I have found my voice. I have found my style. I suddenly understood that I'm a country music girl, which is super surprising because, guys, I think that you have already guessed from my accent that I'm not American, I'm from Poland, you see. So why country? I don't quite understand, but I just feel that this is the style which is mine. This is the style that I want to work with, you see. So this is like my thing. And when I discovered this, I suddenly felt absolutely free, and I felt confident, and I understood how to build my career effectively. So I got this sense of direction, a sense of some deeper purpose, that is super important in creative work. So see, this is all what GSR sessions can do, so isn't it a miracle? So, and now you're probably wondering, so what is this method? What is the GSR method? You see, so GSR is a method of working with our subconscious mind, and it works the following way. So, for example, you feel that inside you are stuck, or so you suffer because of something. So you come to a session, for example, you work with a practitioner, and so if you feel some suffering, if you feel stuck inside, it means that in your subconscious there is something that GSR calls energy distortion. So basically it's an energy knot that won't let your energies flow freely, and that's why you feel stuck, that's why you feel this discomfort. And during a session that happens online and one-on-one, GSR practitioner finds this knot, and using this method, GSR practitioner sort of unravels it, and the energy starts flowing freely, and you feel the sense of release. you get some new perspective on the situation, yes, and you feel our power, you feel inner strength, and you gain clarity about the situation. So, and you see, so our GSR method works with so-called family field energies, so ancestral energies. So what it means? So you see, GSR views all of us not as isolated individuals, but as a part of a much larger human story. And first and foremost, it's your family story, because we inherit from our ancestors much more than just physical genetics. We inherit from them some subconscious patterns of relating to the world, some subconscious patterns of responding to what is happening in our lives. And, so we follow these patterns absolutely unconsciously. And very often they are outdated. They are not relevant to the situation where we are living at the moment, and they just create some unnecessary suffering. And that is why removing them is a very nice idea, because if you remove them, you get this clear vision, and you start you start acting much more effectively. You get this inner balance. You truly become yourself. And why it is so important, in my opinion, in a creative process, because you see, for most of human history, survival depended on fitting in, so belonging to the group was super important. Yes, following some familiar patterns, and actually trying something new, taking risks, and standing out for many centuries was a very bad idea. But our creativity, our creative potential tells us to do something completely different. It tells us to take risks, to explore the unknown, to express something that nobody expressed before. So you see, and all of this is absolutely opposite of what helped humans survive for centuries. So creativity means growing beyond all this oldest subconscious survival patterns. This is a very evolutionary process, and that's why it can feel so difficult. But when this old, outdated programming becomes less dominant, your inner space expands, and there is more space for this genuine self-expression for uniqueness, for taking creative risks, and it makes you a much better artist. And that's why I believe that GSR method can help creative people so much. Guys, I hope this video resonated with you. So if you want to explore this wonderful method that is called GSR and help your creative self to flourish, you have two ways of doing it. So first of all, you can learn to do GSR sessions yourself. There is a special course for this. You can send me an email and I will give you the link to this course, or you can work with me as a more experienced practitioner, because of course working with practitioner will give you faster result. And my contacts, my email is below the video, so please feel free to contact me. And it will be so interesting for me to work with you, to explore your creativity, to help you become better and more powerful artists, to create some great pieces of art. So please stay curious, stay creative, and see you in my next videos.